Welcome into the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. I'm Kay Donaldson, the director of the Alabama Bass Trail, and your host for this week's podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is when you are watching or listening to this podcast. I do want to thank you for tuning in. This is going to be a busy podcast, but it is wrapping up our season for the ABT 100 on Wheeler Lake. But before that, I do hope that each of you enjoyed a great weekend, whether it was just time spent with family, friends. Did you take in some bass fishing, maybe some college football? For me, we worked outside. We had 8 trees cut down. We did some dirt work, sprayed some weeds, just kind of did some things around the house. Hopefully, I'm really hoping by December 1, we're done with all this and we can just sit back and enjoy our new home here in Coleman. But it was a busy weekend, but maybe even some of you did a little early trick-or-treating. I did see some of that on the Book of Faces, some great costumes. Actually, I know Miss Kim Stryker, they have everything up on Chambers Hill all decorated for all the ghouls and goblins that will be coming out next Thursday. I will be in Decatur, Alabama, preparing for the ABT 100 on Wheeler, so I will not be here at the Black House. And yes, my house is black, and everybody just expects that I will be decorated to the max for Halloween. I am decorated for harvest. I don't do a whole lot of Halloweening, so but I'm sure that we'll have candy here if we have any little ghouls and goblins that want to stop by. So, but I do hope that you enjoyed time with friends, family, took in whatever activity that you enjoy. Honestly, by Sunday afternoon, I am sick of football. I am sick of whether it's soccer, rugby, American football. I'm sick of it by Sunday. I'm just ready to be done with it and not really think about it till the next weekend. It has been quite just I don't know. It's not something I enjoy, but it's always on in the background in our house, and I'm over it. So I am actually looking forward to getting back to Wheeler Lake. It is my former home lake, so I'm looking forward to doing that. But before we get too much into the Alabama Bass Trail 100 on Wheeler Lake, I want to just, if you will just allow me this, I've had about 2 weeks to kind of, or a full week to think about Lay Lake and think about the championship there. And I just feel like it deserves mentioning one more time. How damn good is our Alabama Bass Trail team? And I'm not talking about just the Alabama Bass Trail team that shows up and does boat check and works the ramp and parks the vehicles and weighs you in the afternoon and gives you bags. I'm talking about the live team, talking about the TV crew. I'm talking about the guys back in Birmingham producing the live feed, talking about all of it, like the photography, the videography, the interviews, the everything that works together to make the Alabama Bass Trail just so damn good. And Ben, if you have to bleep those out, but I want to also say Saturday, Ben sends me this video and I sit there and I watch it and I'm just amazed at his talent. And this is not dissing any of his other work. It's all been good. But to see the progression of his creativity and his comfortable side of now knowing what the Alabama Bass Trail truly is, and you can see it in his work. And just an awesome job. I think he did a phenomenal job in showing you what it feels like from daybreak to the sun goes down on the Alabama Bass Trail. And so I said it on my personal Facebook page. I will say it here on the Alabama Bass Trail podcast. If your company needs someone to do video work, give him a chance. It's all I ask is just give him a chance. That's all it'll take. He responded to a Facebook post a couple years ago to join the Alabama Bass Trail team as a on the water photographer or videographer, and he joined us. And then his talent has just I don't really know what I thought we to expect, but it has certainly he's gone above and beyond to work for the Alabama Bass Trail. So awesome job by everybody. So thankful for the entire team. And if you get a chance when you're at an Alabama Bass Trail event, just walk up and say, "Hey guys, we appreciate what you're doing." Now that I was able to talk about our Alabama Bass Trail team, it is time to talk about the Alabama Bass Trail on Wheeler Lake. And kind of before we get started, I'm going to delve into something that I wouldn't say these things. I don't say this stuff lightly, especially when it's a little bit controversial. But of course, this weekend is the last final event of our season, Alabama Bass Trail 100 on Wheeler Lake. And of course, the MLF Toyota Series Championship practice starts on the same day. Before the haters come after me, before the TikTokers and YouTubers and all the people come at me, I want to make sure that I'm very clear. I am not expecting or asking anyone to work around the Alabama Bass Trail. Not at all what I'm asking. I do find it a little hard to understand why these kinds of things can't be avoided. When we announced our schedule the first Friday of March 2023, and when I look back on September the 7th of 2023, Wired to Fish announced the Toyota Series Championship would be on Wheeler Lake. So 6 months in between, and we schedule them on the same lake with practice starting the day of our competition. You know, I've said this many times. I want guys to fish as much as they want to fish. I just don't want to be the person hosting all these events. But what really gets me is not really working with the organizations to make sure that, you know, we're clear of their area, they're clear of our area, and all of that. What really gets me is when I have to be read a riot act from the anglers who sign up for both, who know the risk that's involved, and you still choose to do it. And then somehow at the end of the year, when there's a conflict in your schedule, it's somehow my fault. And somehow I owe you something, I owe you your money back, something. And it just isn't that way. You make a conscious decision to fish both series, along with probably a lot of other stuff. I have a business to run, and it is not for just one person. So I don't owe you your money back. I don't need to make concessions for you. I'm not going to break a rule for you. I've been very clear about that from day one. I kind of see it like you buy a dress for homecoming and you wear it with the tags on it, and then you want to take it back to the store afterwards because you want your money back. I'm girl mathing it that way, if you kind of get it. But you don't get to hold a spot for an entire series and then come back and be mad because there's a conflict that you created because you fish both situations. My schedule is out 6 months before this schedule is out, and you want me to pay your money back, or you want me to break a rule, or you want me to go and change my date to accommodate you. Well, that's not going to happen. So, you know, I don't really know what to say. And I do want to make this very clear. We have multiple anglers that are fishing the Toyota Series Championship, and good for them. Great for them. A lot of money at stake. Hope they do well. Hope Alabama Bass Trail guys kick it, you know, knock it out of the park, whatever. I hope they do. But if you called me and read me the riot act about what I should do because you have a conflict, shame on you. Shame on you. I'm not grouping you all together. So if you called me and read me the riot act, shame on you. I'm not changing things because of you. I'm not asking Mark McWaw and MLF to change anything. It is what it is. And then if you want to come at me with, well, I'll have to evaluate my decisions next year. Okay, do that. It is what it is. But don't ask me to break a rule for you. End of discussion. All right. Did not mean to go on a long-winded rant like that, but sometimes things need to be said, and I'm sure social media people have a great time with it. I'm sure they'll love, the fact that I, was against an angler or whatever. No, I'm against the posture that the angler took, and against the accusations that somehow everything is my fault or the Alabama Bass Trail's fault. It is not. So, sorry, took that long-winded thing, but I just think sometimes things need to be said. Now, let's talk about something a little more positive. November 2nd, Alabama Bass Trail 100 on Wheeler Lake, 67,000 acres. It's my former home lake. I'm excited to be back in Decatur, Alabama on Wheeler Lake. Had a phenomenal tournament there this year in April. I think the weights were awesome. It is going to be that fall type pattern. So it's going to be an exciting tournament. We don't expect to see the weights we saw in April. So I'm not even going to pretend that we're going to see those. But Luke, Duncan and I will talk about that a little bit later. But first of all, I'm going to have the current Angler of the Year points leaders, Zeke Gossett and Ethan King, on. They are currently leading by 11 points over a tie for second with Timothy Felder and Murray Felder. And then also Josh Chappell and Paul Davis, who have some time on the water. But I think either team would say that Wheeler Lake is not their most familiar pond. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of exciting times brought to you on the water by Jason Duran, Darian Craig, and Luke Duncan. I guess I will be calling boats there. But it is going to be a fun tournament. I'm looking forward to it. And we will crown a new Alabama Bass Trail 100 Anglers of the Year champion. And they'll take home their TH Marine Atlas Jack Plate prize pack, as well as some phenomenal belts that you'll get to see here in just a minute. But right now, you're listening to the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. We'll be back with your current leaders in the Angler of the Year race, Mr. Zeke Gossett and Ethan King. Y'all stay tuned. You're going to want to hear this.
It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
Welcome back to the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. I'm Kay Donaldson, and as I mentioned, we're going to have the Angler of the Year leaders right now, Zeke Gossett and Ethan King. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Y'all are becoming regulars.
Hey, that's a good thing, I guess, right?
They say that when you win or when you're leading the points, it's a automatic end to the podcast. So I know that neither of you fished Wheeler Lake this weekend. Zeke, you were fishing, I think, the Bass Nation down on Lay Lake.
Yes, ma'am.
How'd that go?
So I ended up fourth after 2 days. We fished Friday and Saturday. I had 29 pounds for 2 days, and then my dad also fished as my co-angler, and he finished third, so he qualified for nationals as well. So it was a successful weekend for sure.
Good. Ethan, what did you where were you casting a line this weekend?
I was at Logan Martin fishing the Fishers and Men out of Lincoln.
All right. So neither one of you have been to Wheeler yet, I'm assuming?
No, we have not. Last time I fished there was the North.
This April?
Yeah, the North term. I think in April, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you have an 11-point lead over two teams tied for second place, Timothy and Murray Fielder, Paul Davis and Josh Chappell sitting in second. So you have an 11-point lead over them. Is the goal to win Angler of the Year or the goal to get a win? What's the goal going into Wheeler?
Of course we have to think about, being leaders, and leading the AOI. I mean, it's on our mind, of course. So we're going to put in the work, and we want to do both. We always want to do the best we can. We're going to put in the work, like I said, and when the tournament time comes, we're going to fish as hard as we can, and If it's our time, it's our time. You can't really force anything. So, but I promise you, we're going to put in the work, and that's what we're about to go. That's what we're doing right now together, is prepping for Wheeler. So we're going to put in the work. But yeah, the goal is to win both.
Cool. I haven't really seen a whole lot of tournament results from Wheeler lately. It is starting to be that fall pattern. You're seeing temperatures cool off, not as cold as they were for the ABT championship down on Lake Lake. So you're looking at mid 50s at night, high in the high 70s. Anything you guys are going to be targeting, or your thoughts going in blindly right now to Wheeler?
Yeah. So I don't have a lot of history there in the fall. I'm trying to think back, and as we're approaching this tournament, I think I might have fished one time there in the fall, but I was really young. I was probably like ninth grade in high school or so. But the main thing I look at, and this don't really affect us that often, but wind is a big deal. On the Tennessee River, it looks like it's going to blow 10 to 15 most of practice, and then kind of lay down a little bit. This is a far off still, but projected like 5 to 10 on tournament day. So I believe we're going to have to play the wind a little bit, because it can get rough on Wheeler. It gets rough on all the Tennessee River lakes. So we might have to practice, different winds, and I think it's supposed to switch actually on tournament day. So we're gonna have to play the wind. And like you said, it's not as cool as it normally is this time of year, or should be. So looks like we should have a little bit of cloud cover and rain. So I'm hoping by tournament time they're in that full fall swing for sure. And I think the fishing should be pretty good. Like you said, I hadn't seen many weights. I believe the last weight I saw was a BFL 2-day, and it took, I think, like 35 or so for 2 days. So not bad at all. So I think our goal right now is to have at least 15 or 16 pounds. I think if we get anything over that, we'll be happy.
All right. Ethan, go ahead.
No, I just said I agree completely.
So a little, I guess, not a bombshell dropped on us, but I mean, we kind of knew going into this, the Toyota Series is going to be there next week after us. Practice starts on Saturday. Will that cause any issues as far as practice? And the day of competition is when their practice starts.
Yeah, and I'll say this real quick. I want to thank Ethan for fishing with me. He actually qualified for the tournament, but he decided to, since we were leading AOI, decided to come fish with me. So I want to thank him for that. But yeah, their practice, yeah, for sure. It might affect us a little bit. I think those guys hopefully will be, a little respectable. If they know we're fishing the tournament, you can tell if you're in a team or not. But yeah, we got to play that as well. And everybody has to deal with it. So it's all level playing field. And I honestly, I didn't know when their practice started, so that's the first time of me hearing that. So
yeah.
I mean, everybody's gonna have to deal with it. So we'll fish around them, and we'll figure something out. Hopefully, that not many people have found.
Well, I'm not sure how many people are actually in that event. I do know that there was 4 or 5 of our anglers that were affected by that. I know Brent Crow,
Right.
Donnie Beck, Lucas Black, then Ethan. So I'm sure there's others that I'm not aware of. But I thought their practice started on Sunday, so I was a little oblivious to the fact that it did start on Sunday or on Saturday. The first 2 tournaments on the Coosa River, that's where you spend a tremendous amount of your time, Zeke. Any concerns outside of wind, and the Tennessee River can be crazy when that wind gets up, especially if it's coming out of the west. Are you kind of hoping that the fish are starting to get back in those pockets, maybe a little more wind protected?
Yeah, 100%. And that's what our goal is, to try to find something that's real consistent. So a lot of, and that's hard to say in the fall because it's always changing. So our goal, and this is pretty much every time, our goal is to find how we can get bit consistently throughout the day. So, how we can get bit in the morning, midday, late. That's our goal every tournament. But yeah, so like you said, hopefully they'll move back into the creeks where it's more wind protected. That way we don't have to worry about that. But if they want to be out on the river, we're going to try to find places that are protected by the wind on the river as well. So, and we're going to cover, north to south. I really hope they bite north, but you know, if they bite south, I've done good on that south end as well. So I'm fine with either way. We just, like I said, we need to find a consistent way to get bit, you know, through the 3 parts of the day.
All right. Ethan, will you guys be practicing separately?
We talked about that, and I think our first day or maybe 2 days of practice, we're going to practice in the same boat, and then depending on how that's going is whether we're going to make a decision on if we should split up. But we are taking both of our boats up there.
Okay. It is 67,000 acres. Do you think that it will fish big, or do you think that it'll be fish much smaller?
In the fall, there's honestly no telling. It could fish, you know, everybody could be spread out pretty well, but there could be one area of the lake that's a lot better than the rest, and
Right.
most of the field in that area.
Okay.
Yeah, Wheeler's very diverse. So, you know, you got a lot of deep water on the south end, and, you know, you got the flats, you know, around Decatur, and then, you know, you got upriver, you got the dam and all that. So I think it'll be pretty spread out, but like he said, I think there'll be one area where, you know, I don't know which one yet, of course, but one area will probably have more boats than others, but I feel like it won't be too crowded.
Well, I was going to ask you, you know, Wheeler Lake, very popular for the largemouth and smallmouth bass. I know Coosa River, you're more on that spotted bass and largemouth. Do you actually try to target smallmouth when you're up on the Tennessee River?
Honestly, if whichever one we will, and then we'll target largemouth. But most of the time, we make our decision which one we're going to fish for in tournament just from, you know, if we feel like we can consistently get bit with smallmouth, we're going to go smallmouth fishing. If we can get consistently bit by largemouth, we're going to go do that.
Yeah, I think practice is very going to dictate that.
Okay.
We enjoy catching smallmouth, but smallmouth can be finicky. You know, they're pretty nomadic. They'll move a lot of times. Now, my guess right now, you know, you're on TVA. It's not really the right time of year, I feel like, for the smallmouth to dominate. You know, if this was early spring, I feel like somebody could have a really huge bag of smallmouth.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like largemouth are probably going to be the winners this week.
Okay. All right. I want to ask you guys what you think the winning weight will be, and of course, and if you think it'll be a mixed bag. So, Ethan, what do you think the winning weight, what it's going to take to win this event?
21 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
And 22, probably a mixed bag.
Mixed. Okay. All right, Zeke.
I'm gonna go a little bit lower. I'm gonna say right at 20. So high 19, low 20-pound bag. And I'd say it's probably gonna be mostly largemouth.
Okay.
Somebody gets a random big smallmouth, they might have one, but so I guess I'll go with the mixed bag as well. But I think you know, most of the time Wheeler, we've had in April we had 17, I believe, and then when we fished there in June the year prior, and in June the year prior we had 17. We finished like 8th, so, and we finished 11th, I think, in April. So we're really shooting for like that 17-pound range to get in the top 10. I don't know what it'll take this time. I'm gonna say probably around that to get in the top 10. You know, that 16-pound mark.
Okay.
Plus. So that's gonna be my guess.
All right. I know that we've watched you guys on live, and you are very, very good with your live scope and your forward-facing sonar. Will you rely on that for this tournament?
If we have to.
Yeah, and I think we will.
Okay.
It's a dominant thing right now in our sport. You know, it's a hot topic. Some people don't like it, some people like it, but we can use it right now. It's just like the Alabama rig. If we could use the Alabama rig in this tournament, we'd be using it. So
Yeah.
as long as we can use live scope, we're going to use it to, you know, use it as a tool. And if we feel like we need to use it, we'll use it. And most likely we will, because it's honestly the best consistent way to get bit right now anywhere in the country. So
Okay. Those fish are not back on the banks. They're not quite back there yet. They might be in the mouth of the creeks, but they're not quite back to the bank yet. So I've assumed very clearly. One of the things that we heard during the Lay Lake Championship, and I think what you're going to see at Wheeler as well, is the thick bait balls. A lot of people talking about the amount of bait that was in the water at Lay Lake. Did you see that when you were practicing and during the tournament, Zeke?
Oh yeah, for sure. And bait ball is a big fall time going into winter deal. Yes, and I've honestly I hadn't done it much at Wheeler at all. Like, I guess because I hadn't fished there much in the fall and winter. But I know Tennessee River and then smallmouth like to spin too, and as long as the largemouth. And I have done it on Gunnersville, so I'm gonna try to relate kind of the pattern of what I did there to there. So I'm excited to see it. But I did see it a lot in Lay, and the bad part about Lay is they moved around a lot during that tournament. I think because of the weather and how cold it got so quick. And if you didn't shine that thing just right, you could have went 2 foot to the right or 2 foot to the left and saw a group of 4-pounders. And we second day we had a decent first day. But that second day we didn't shine our live scope just right. So, but yeah, I did see that a lot. And again, I think that's going to be a predominant pattern at Wheeler, like you said.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for taking time. I knew you were getting ready to go to Wheeler. I do appreciate you taking the time, and we will see you guys on Saturday at Wheeler Lake. I'll have those bright, shiny belts with me, maybe doing a little video with those as we get ready. But congratulations on a phenomenal season. You've got a win and a second place finish on the ABT 100 against 100 phenomenal bass fishing hammers out there on the Alabama Bass Trail 100. So congratulations on a great season so far. We'll see how you finish it up at Wheeler Lake.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys, there you have it. Your leaders in the Angler of the Year points race. Ethan King, Zeke Gossett, 199 points out of a possible 200. It just doesn't get much better than that. Those guys are catching them everywhere we go, it seems. So Zeke had I think a 4th place finish out on Lay Lake this past weekend. He's catching them everywhere he goes, and Ethan is right there with him. So it's going to be fun to watch them on Wheeler Lake. When we come back, we're going to have Mr. Luke Duncan join us. We're going to talk about his thoughts going into Wheeler. He spent a lot of time there. We're going to talk about the season itself on the Alabama Bass Trail 100. And, it's hard to get in a rhythm because of the time between the January, the June, and the November tournament. But there are some teams I think you're going to want to keep your eye on. We're going to talk about some of those when we come back here on the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. Y'all stay tuned.
Things you let me see.
Welcome back to the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. There they are. Just going to wear these for the rest of the day just because I can, and they feel good. So these are the Angler of the Year belts that we will award to some lucky team, a very deserving team to walk away with these this year. You kind of think Zeke and Ethan have 199 points out of 200 possible right now. Things seem to be going their way. But 11 points is not a huge lead, and I think those guys know it. That's why they're headed to Wheeler now to practice. So we'll give these away as well as another $100,000, $25,000 going to the first place team with a possible $8,000 Phoenix First Flight money, AmFirst money, Garmin money, TH Marine money, Yamaha Power Pay money. There's a lot of contingency money on the line. Guys could walk away with around $39,000 to $40,000 on a one-day tournament. So looking forward to giving away that money, rounding out our season, and awarding these fine belts as well. I mentioned it on my personal Facebook page and Instagram page, but it is leather season, and these are fine leather belts. So maybe you don't wear these with your Levi's. I don't know. I probably would wear them with my Levi's, but anyway, neither here nor there. Luke is not going to be able to join me on this segment. I hate that because I always like to get his picks and what his thoughts are on the tournaments, even though sometimes they don't turn out to be exactly right, like mine don't. But I do like to, kind of talk things through with him. But I wanted to mention a couple teams that I think we should be watching. And there are teams that would be in this list if they weren't going to be split up because of the Toyota Series Championship that's going on as well. So first of all, Tony Harvey, Donnie Beck, 100% would be my team to win this event. Tony is a fantastic angler. I just think having two people in the boat is going to be key, and Donnie's going to be fishing the Toyota Series. So I 100% that's the team I would put up to win if I was choosing a team. Jimmy Mason and David Pear fishing together in the Alabama Bass Trail 100s. Jimmy is a guide on the Tennessee River. A lot of times that is a curse, not a blessing. But I do have him up certainly in that top 5, if not the win. Lavoyd and Zach Lemon, probably a team that you don't hear me talk a lot about. They only fish the 100s, but Wheeler Lake is their home lake, and they are on the Book of Faces all the time with big weights and with some tournament wins. So I certainly would put them up there as well. Nolan Spencer fishing with his dad. Robbie Spencer, not his normal fishing partner, but Nolan loves the Tennessee River, and I think that this is probably one he's had his eye on for a while. Kyle Dorsett and Justin Atkins, another team that Bassmaster Elite Series angler fishing with Kyle Dorsett won a ton of events, more known on the Coosa River, but I think they'll do well. And then a team that you're going to know the first part of this team and maybe not the second, since he hadn't fished with us in a while. Damian Willis and Mark Stewart. They have a history on Wheeler Lake. They performed really well there when they were a team early on in the Alabama Bass Trail. So I would certainly say that those guys are teams to watch. Are there others? Yes, there's 100 others. I mean, I could go through here and look at. Okay, let's talk about Paul Davis and Josh Chappell. They have fished the North before. They have been on the podium at Wheeler Lake before. They're second in the Angler of the Year points. Do I think they're going to put their work in? Hell yes, I think they're going to put their work in. I think that they've got a good shot to upset Zeke and Ethan. Timothy Fielder, Murray Fielder are also tied for second place. I know they love to be on that Coosa River. They love Weiss Lake. They love Lake Wedowee. They're going to have to put in some time to upset Ethan and Zeke for sure. You don't have to look too far down the list. You got Philip and Bailey Dukes, longtime fishermen on the Alabama Bass Trail, former ABT 100 Anglers of the Year, took it home at Pickwick a couple years ago. They know how to get it done. The problem is they're about 24 points behind. I don't know if they'll be able to make that up. Derek Hicks, Alex Davis. I mean, come on. The guys can just freaking catch them. You don't have to go too far down the list. And tied for 7th place. Let's see if this is a two-way tie. Waylon Mullis and Justin Hamner, they won on Pickwick. He's a Bassmaster Classic champion, for God's sake. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I'm not taking anything away from my Southern ABT guys that are in this field, but another team, and I just saw it. I thought they were in this competition, but I wanted to make sure. 19th place, Eric White and Eddie Jewell. Eddie Jewell's probably won as much money on the Tennessee River as anybody. So you got to look at them. Chris Colley, Adam Bain, they're always in the mix. I think they were on the podium this year at Wheeler in April. Mark Condren, Ted Paisley. Just, you can go on and on and on down the list. Justin Lane, Luke Mason have had good finishes there. There's just a ton of really good fishermen in this field. That's why they paid the $1,000 per tournament to fish here. They believe they can go out and win any of them. So the list goes on and on and on. So I'm not going to discriminate against anybody. Those are some people that I know have good history on the lake, that have a lot of history on the lake, and I feel like that they will do well. I do think we're going to be in that mark between that 19 and 20 pounds. Cloudy day, if it stays cloudy, we won't have a ton of current. The amount of rain we're expected to get is less than 1/2 inch on Thursday, Friday. But if it stays overcast and the wind will die down, I think the fishing will be better than blue sky day. So, but you can watch it all unfold. I think we'll blast off sometime around that 6:45 mark. I do know we fall back on Sunday, so 6:45 is what time we expect to go live. We will stay out on the water until 11 a.m., bringing you all the live coverage. Luke, Duncan, Darian, Craig, and Jason Duran will be bringing that to you on Alabama Bass Trail Live. Guys, tune in if you're not fishing Alabama Bass Trail 100. Tune in, watch those guys. They work extremely hard to bring you live coverage throughout the morning. They'll be out there covering that. They'll be with some of their favorite teams and checking in on those. That'll be 7 o'clock or 6:45 to 11 o'clock on alabamabastrail.org. on Alabama Bass Trail 100 Facebook page, on the Alabama Bass Trail Facebook page, and on our YouTube channel at Alabama Bass Trail TV. So make sure that you're watching all of that in the live coverage. Also, just a couple of updates because this is the time that we start thinking about all that. Alabama Bass Trail 100 fees are due December the 1st. So that is 33 days from the time that you're listening to this, December 1st by close of business. So please make sure you get those payments in and your cancellations. If you're not going to be able to fish with us, make sure that you cancel before then so that we can replace that team. Alabama Bass Trail 100.org, click on register and click on pay your balance, and you'll be able to do that. John will be sending out a text message on Wednesday the 6th, giving you your team ID and PIN number. If you have forgotten those, we will not mess with you on Tuesday the 5th because that is voting day. And I hope that you exercise your right and get out and vote. Our country is depending on you. So we will send that to you on November the 6th at 10 o'clock in the morning. You'll be able to go online and pay your payments. Then on December the 20th, that is the deadline to pay all Alabama Bass Trail payments for the 2025 season. I've said it, I'll say it again. Yes, it's earlier this year, but we are fishing much earlier this year. And honestly, it keeps me from having to deal with it throughout the holidays. Honestly, Christmas is the only time that I am not bombarded or that I have time that I can literally take time with my family. And because of the events that happened last year with my son's heart attack, we really had a very brief holiday time. And so I want to spend some time with my family. And I know that y'all are supportive of that. So I'm asking you to please make all your payments prior to December the 20th. And then we'll get everybody filled in on those that cancel, have all that wrapped up before Santa Claus comes and we can enjoy time with our family. So that is 53 days from the time that you're hearing this. And you can go to alabamabasstrail.org. Again, click on register and click on pay your 2025 balance. Once that's done, you'll be getting all the documentation from us, your rules acknowledgments, your terms and conditions, and your W-9 form to fill out for the 2025 season. So we have all of your tax recording information that we need once the year is over. So that kind of does it for that information. All right. That does it for another segment on the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. I did not get any videos this week asking me to answer a certain topic or pose a certain topic to one of our other team members. So I'm going to remind you again, if you'd like to send a video to Kay at alabamabasstrail.org, send me a video. Simply say, my question is for Luke Duncan. This is the question. And say, my name is Kay Donaldson from Coleman, Alabama. My question is for Luke Duncan, and tell me the question. We'll be glad to get that to him or any of our other staff members as well. If you have a question about anything that goes on the Alabama Bass Trail, we will be glad to answer those for you and get the appropriate person to answer that for you. So again, that's Kay at alabamabasstrail.org. Just send us a video and we'll get those answers for you. If you have any other topics you would like for us to cover on the Alabama Bass Trail podcast, please inbox us at Kay at alabamabasstrail.org or Angela at alabamabasstrail.org. And we will try to get those guests or cover those topics on the next podcast. So please do that. I do hope you will subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite podcasting app. Send us comments and questions. We'll be happy to answer those for you as well. Until then, it's a great time to be in the state of Alabama. The colors are changing, the temperatures are cooling, and it is probably my most favorite time of the year. It's still not cold, but it's cooler. So one of my favorite times of the year. So thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, rate, and review the show for us. That helps us a lot. Let us know what you're thinking about, what you're thinking of the show, and where we can improve. So you guys have a blessed day, and we will see you on the water Saturday morning at Wheeler Lake in Decatur, Alabama. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Alabama Bass Trail podcast. To learn more about the Alabama Bass Trail, make sure and visit alabamabasstrail.org.